So let's take a look at percent and percent changes and how they relate to graphs. So if you live anywhere in Victoria or Vancouver and followed the news at all, you know that housing prices have increased tremendously in the last little while, and it's been in the news quite a bit. So we're going to take a look at this graph, which tells you something about the average prices of a house in Victoria or in Victoria West. So before we analyze it and do lots of calculations, it's important to take a look at what the axes are measured in. So what is the scale on the horizontal axis? If we take a look horizontally, they go up by 1 year. So the scale is in 1 year, goes up by 1 year. What is the scale on the vertical axis? It goes up from 50 to 150, 150 to 250, so that's a $100,000 scale. Each tick on the scale is worth $100,000. So now if you wanted to use your skills from Unit 1 to describe this graph, notice that there is a slight increase in or a slow increase in the value of a house in between 1984 and 1985. So there is a slight upward trend between 1984 and 1995. And then it flattens out. So this is a time when it's fairly stable. So the prices are constant or stable for approximately 8 years. And then finally, we see another upward trend. So there is another upward trend, and it is a larger increase for the last 7 years. You could also say that there is a small peak in the year 1994, and this in 2008 it is the maximum. Now we know the prices have gone up since then too, but for this graph at 2018 it's the maximum house price. So we've used some of our skills from Unit 1 to describe the graph. So now we're going to use our formulas for calculating percent change, because we're asked to calculate the percent change in house prices between 2001 and 2008. So let's start by finding 2001. There it is, and it's nearly sitting right on the line at $250,000. Was the average price of a home. And in 2008 it jumped up a little bit above 550,000, and here is where we have to estimate. So if we estimate 570,000, something like that, and that's just above the 550 mark, and we're going to use our formula for percent change from the last skill, which is the new minus the original divided by the original value times 100. So if I take a look at between 2001 and 2008, the new value is in 2008, which is $570,000 minus the original, which is $250,000, divided by $250,000. And we multiply that by 100. So if we do the subtraction first, it's $320,000 divided by $250,000 times 100. Next, if I do this division, I get 1.28 times 100, which is 128. So that means it's 120% increase. That's a tremendous increase in that last 7 years. So let's calculate the average annual percentage. Annual means that it is per year in that same time period. So if we know it increases 128% in 7 years, and it's 7 because this is 7 years, then it increased. To figure out how much it does increased in 1 year, we take the 128% and divide it by 7 to get 18%. So it increases 18% every year between 2001 and 2008. That's the average annual percentage increase. So we're asked to compare two different time periods here, and the good news is that we've already done one of the calculations. We've done it for this. So remember from the last slide, we calculated the annual percentage increase to be 18% per year. Now we're going to do the same thing again for this first period, which is between 1984 and 1994. So in 1994, it's approximately, reading across, 250,000. And in 1984, it started off halfway between 50 and 150, which I'm going to estimate as 100,000. So the price increased from 100 to 250,000. So over the 10 years, the percentage change is the new minus the original divided by the original. And don't forget to multiply by 100. So in this case, the newer value is 250,000 minus the original price in 1984 of 100,000. It's hard to believe that prices were that cheap way back when, divided by 100,000. And then multiply that by 100. Using your handy dandy calculator and inputting those numbers, you should get a value of 32%. So that's in 10 years, which means that in 1 year or annually, it would be 32% in 10 years or 3.2% increase. So just let's compare those. So in this time period here, it was increasing at a rate of 18% a year. And in this time period here, it was increasing at 3.2% a year. So that is a difference of just under 15%, from 3 to 18. So that's the comparison. We compare by subtraction. So the difference in the annual percentage increase is 18 minus 3.2, which is 14.8%. There's an increasing far more quickly now, or between 2002 and 2008, compared to 1984 and 1994.